In this video, I'd like to analyze what some consider to be the greatest ending in video game history. The ending to the classic Amiga CD32 title, This Town Has No Name. First, let's watch.
Come back, Shane!
My name's not Shane, kid.
The first shot is of a calendar displaying the number 29. The month and year are unintelligible, signifying that it is only the number that we are meant to see. The number 29 is highly relationship-oriented. Its very existence is intertwined with the dynamics of relationships, which will be a driving theme for the rest of the scene, and the conclusion of this game as a whole. A person with the number 29 in a major position of their numerology chart tends to be diplomatic, a team worker, and enjoy trusted companionship. There's compassion, not only for the teams or groups 29 is associated with, but also for humanity as a whole. As an overview, the numerology number 29 represents a composition containing the ideas of relationships, teamwork, compassion, companionship, and diplomacy. To symbolize the traits the number 29 represents, our main character then puts this poor creature out of its misery. He sees that it has already been stepped on and can't stand the thought of it in pain. In Professor Edwin Tchaikovsky's paper, Compassion, Cruelty, and the Merits of Suffering, he states that this spider appears to be smiling. He claims that the bliss of death triumphs the experience of pain. Hence why in this shot we see the spider's expression is one of contentment and serenity. Now, if you look very closely, you see our main character appears to be floating, which is just one of the many uses of divine imagery. In Dean Murray's essay, Light, Nature, and Other Signs of God, he claims that this scene has a deeper meaning. In his essay, he introduced the idea that us as a species are the spider, and our unnamed protagonist is God, seeing the state in which we have harmed our planet and in turn ourselves. And this scene depicts our swift but compassionate ending. Again, making correlations to the number 29 we saw earlier. Now, I haven't seen this mentioned in all of my research for this video, but I interpret the wheels of the train resembling umbrellas. Umbrellas are used to protect us from the elements. They protect us from nature. Expanding on the ideas proposed by Dean Murray in his essay Light, Nature, and Other Signs of God, this could mean that our protagonist, who is a representation of God, getting on this train signifies that God is abandoning us. That this train, like the umbrella, is protecting us from Him as He departs, leaving us to our own devices. Moving along, we see a young boy dressed in a white shirt say, "Come back, Shane," clasping his hands together as our protagonist waves goodbye. The color white often represents innocence, which is further reinforced by the imagery of it being worn by a child. The way the child is holding his hands together is very similar to one praying. Arthur Welsh, in his thesis about the esoteric ending to A Town Without a Name, seems to agree with Dean Murray that our protagonist is a stand-in for God, and this boy represents the innocent side of humankind, praying for God to come back and to not abandon humanity, because there is good in us that is represented here by this child. The camera cuts to our protagonist already half inside of the train, and he fires a shot at the child. This has been widely debated, but the general consensus is that this was merely a warning shot, only to give a glimpse at the true power of God. The child, who represents humankind's innocence, then flees due to seeing this awesome power, while our protagonist says, "My name's not Shane, kid." Tim Creeley wrote in his paper, Heaven Has No Name, that this only confirms humankind's misunderstanding of God. God has many names across many religions and represents different things to different people. Some use the idea of God as a selfish idea from which to justify and rationalize their own bad behavior. It doesn't come from a true belief in faith, and rather a need to feel like there is an outside power that creates cause for their own life. In this depiction of God, he seems frustrated with our lack of knowledge and true understanding, and realizes that only by his absence can we truly appreciate his meaning and intentions. The next shot shows a train spinning around in space.